March 6th, 1940. 10:47 a.m. Koyukuk Front, Alaska. Eric Whitmore's face hurt. Not the cold. He had lived with minus 38 degrees Fahrenheit for 97 days straight. Cold was normal. Cold was background noise. This was different. Warm. Wet. Wrong. He touched his jaw with his left hand. The glove came away red. Dark red. Too much red. Blood. Through blurred vision, he could see his rifle lying in the snow 3 feet away. Winchester Model 70. Iron sights. No scope. No magnification. Just 2 metal posts and a notch. The same rifle he had used to kill 505 Soviet soldiers in the past 3 months. 5.2 kills per day. Every single day. For 97 days straight. With a weapon military doctrine said was obsolete. With equipment his commanding officer had called primitive. With iron sights that every professional sniper in the world said were inadequate for modern warfare. An explosive bullet had just destroyed his jaw. Soviet anti-material round, designed to destroy equipment. Illegal under Geneva Convention for use against personnel. The round had hit near his jawline and detonated on impact. Lower jaw destroyed, left cheek torn open, several teeth gone, blood everywhere. Medics would later write in their report, catastrophic facial trauma, massive blood loss condition, incompatible with life. No one survives this injury. Eric would prove them wrong. But right now, crawling through snow toward American lines, leaving a blood trail 200 meters long, Eric had one thought. I told Helen I would come back. This story is not about how Eric Whitmore died. It is about how a 5-foot 3-inch elk farmer from Minnesota became the deadliest sniper in American history by refusing to use a scope. How did we get here? December 1st, 1939, Fort Richardson, Alaska, 97 days earlier. Lieutenant Marcus Hartwell stood in the armory holding a state-of-the-art M1903 Springfield rifle with a 4X unertl scope. Military issue, standard equipment, the kind of weapon professional soldiers used. Eric stood across from him holding his personal Winchester Model 70. Iron sights. No scope. No magnification, just the rifle he had used to hunt elk in the Boundary Waters since he was 17 years old. Hartwell stared at the Winchester like it was a museum piece. This is War Whitmore, not a deer hunt. Eric kept his voice level. With respect, sir, I would like to explain my reasoning. Hartwell gestured impatiently. Make it quick. Eric pointed to the scope mounted on the M1903. That scope sits 3 centimeters higher than iron sights. When you are lying in snow cover, 3 centimeters is the difference between invisible and dead. Your head has to be 3 centimeters higher to look through that scope. In deep snow, that 3 centimeters exposes your position. Hartwell started to interrupt. Eric continued. A scope reflects sunlight. Glass reflects light. One flash of reflected sun and Soviet artillery observers spot you. They call in coordinates. Artillery obliterates your position in minutes. I have seen it happen. Scoped snipers get spotted. They die. A scope fogs up in sub-zero temperatures. When you breathe, moisture from your breath condenses on the lens. You get condensation. Frost. Ice crystals. You are blind for the 5 seconds it takes to wipe the lens clear. In combat, 5 seconds is enough time to die 10 different ways. Hartwell studied him carefully. You have thought about this. I have hunted in minus 40-degree weather for 20 years, sir. I know what works in extreme cold. I know what fails. Hartwell set down the M1903. Fine. Use your hunting rifle. But Soviet intelligence reports say they are sending elite counter-sniper teams to this sector. Men who fought in Spain, men who fought in Mongolia, Men who have killed at distances you cannot imagine with those iron sights. When they kill you because you could not see them through your primitive sights, do not expect sympathy. Eric almost smiled. I will be too dead to care, sir. But he was thinking something else. He was thinking about elk, about how elk can detect human scent at 800 meters downwind, how elk can hear a rifle bolt at 500 meters, how elk have survived for millions of years by evolving to detect predators. Eric had learned to hunt elk by understanding them better than they understood themselves. He learned to read wind patterns, to move without sound, to position himself so the elk never knew he existed until the bullet arrived. If he could outsmart animals that evolved specifically to avoid predators, he could outsmart humans who learned tactics from a manual. Northern Minnesota, November 15th, 1939. 3 weeks before deployment. Eric Whitmore stood in his barn at dawn bottle feeding an orphaned elk calf, 5'3", wiry build, hands scarred from 2 decades of farm work and winter hunting. His wife Helen stood in the doorway holding an envelope. Draft notice, she said. Not a question, a statement. Eric nodded. He had been expecting it. Soviet forces had crossed into Alaska 2 weeks ago. Unprovoked aggression on American soil. President Roosevelt had called it an act of war. The calf nuzzled his palm. Eric had raised it from birth after its mother died during spring calving. He had taught it his scent, his voice, his presence. The calf trusted him completely. Prey animals learn to distinguish predator from protector. That is how elk survive in forests full of wolves. They read patterns, they understand behaviors, they know which sounds mean danger and which sounds mean safety. Eric had spent 20 years learning to be invisible to prey animals, learning to move through forest without disturbing branches, learning to breathe without creating visible vapor in cold air, learning to position himself where elk would never think to look. He did not know it yet, but those same skills would make him invisible to humans. Helen crossed the barn and put her hand on his shoulder. You will come back. Eric met her eyes. I will come back. But he was thinking about his grandfather, Spanish-American war veteran. Came home in 1899 with all his limbs intact but something missing from his eyes. The part that let you sleep without nightmares. The part that let you sit at dinner without flinching at sudden sounds. His grandfather had told him once when Eric was 16 years old and had just killed his first white-tailed deer, that sick feeling you have right now, that is good. That means you respect what you took. The day killing feels easy. You stop being a hunter. You become something else, something worse. Eric had never forgotten that. 4 days later, he boarded a train to Alaska carrying his Winchester. The military would issue him a rifle, but he wanted his own. Just in case doctrine failed and survival required tools, he understood. December 3rd, 1939, 4:47 a.m., Koyukuk Front, Alaska. Eric's first kill happened before sunrise. He had been in position since 10 p.m. the previous night. 8 hours in the same spot. Temperature minus 35 degrees. No movement except slow, controlled breathing. His position was not standard military doctrine. No sandbags, no logs, no fortification that would be visible from 100 meters away. Just a micro trench. A depression in snow so shallow that a man could step over it without noticing. Eric had spent 4 hours building it in complete darkness. Not digging, which would disturb too much snow and leave obvious signs. Compressing. Using his body weight to create a shallow pocket that looked like natural terrain. Around the muzzle he had packed snow. Hard, compressed snow. When a rifle fires in deep powder snow, the muzzle blast kicks up a massive cloud. Every soldier within 500 meters can see the cloud and identify the shooter's position. Eric's packed snow would absorb most of the blast. No cloud, no signature. The rifle would fire, the bullet would travel, the target would fall, and nobody would know where the shot originated. In his mouth he kept packed snow, fresh snow, constantly refreshing it. This was the technique that would define his entire campaign. When you exhale in sub-zero temperatures, moisture from your breath creates visible vapor. Steam. A white cloud in cold air that says "sniper here" to anyone watching. Soviet observers were trained to scan for breath vapor. It was one of the primary methods for detecting concealed positions. Eric kept fresh snow in his mouth constantly. His warm breath melted the snow before it could exit his mouth. No vapor, no steam, no visible signature. It was uncomfortable. It made his teeth ache. It numbed his tongue and made his jaw hurt. But it made him invisible. Soviet patrol advanced at dawn. 12 men. Standard formation. Moving with the confidence of soldiers who believed they owned this territory. Eric watched through iron sights. No magnification, just 2 metal posts and a notch. The same sights he had used to shoot rabbits at 300 meters when he was 12 years old. The patrol leader walked slightly ahead of his men. Confident posture, scanning the tree line but not with the paranoia of someone who expected immediate danger. Officers always moved differently. Even when they tried to blend in, something in their bearing gave them away. Eric had learned to spot it. Range 420 meters. Most military manuals said iron sights were effective to 300 meters maximum. Beyond that distance, you needed magnification to see the target clearly enough for accurate fire. But Eric was not most soldiers. He had been shooting at extreme ranges since childhood, not because he enjoyed the challenge, because wounded game ran and running game meant no food, and no food meant his family went hungry. He learned to make the first shot count at any distance. By age 17, Eric could estimate range by eye within 10 meters of accuracy. Could calculate bullet drop for any distance under 500 meters. Could compensate for wind without instruments just by feeling how air moved against his face. 20 years of practice, 10,000 shots, maybe more. His grandfather's voice echoed in his memory. You do not think about killing. You think about the shot, distance, wind, the animal's next movement. The kill happens because the shot was right. If you think about killing, you hesitate. If you hesitate, you miss. If you miss, you fail. Eric settled his breathing, exhaled slowly through the snow in his mouth. The moisture was absorbed, no visible vapor. Iron sights settled on the Soviet officer's center mass, heart and lungs, the target area that guaranteed quick death. He pulled the trigger. The Winchester kicked against his shoulder. The sound cracked across frozen forest. Sharp, distinctive. 420 meters away, the Soviet officer dropped like his strings had been cut. One shot, center mass, dead before he hit snow. Eric felt his stomach twist. This was not an elk. This was not a deer. This was a human being. Someone's son, maybe someone's father. A man who had woken up this morning expecting to live through the day. But the patrol was scattering now and training took over. Eric chambered another round. The bolt worked smoothly. American engineering, reliable even in extreme cold. The patrol scattered for cover. Most found it. 2 did not move fast enough. Eric fired twice more in the next 15 seconds. 2 more Soviet soldiers fell, both dead. Both shot through the center of mass from 400+ meters with iron sights. The remaining 9 Soviets found cover and returned fire. But they were shooting at nothing. They could not see Eric's position. His micro-trench was invisible. His packed snow had absorbed the muzzle blast. His breath discipline meant no vapor signature. To the Soviets, it was like being shot by a ghost. Eric did not fire again. He had made his point. 3 confirmed kills. The patrol was suppressed, and combat ineffective. Mission accomplished. That night, Eric sat in his tent cleaning his rifle. His hands were steady. That bothered him more than shaking would have. Private Davis. His tent mate asked the question. "How does it feel?" Eric did not answer immediately. He was thinking about the first Soviet officer, how he had dropped, how there had been no dramatic death scene, no final words, no last gesture, just alive one moment, dead the next. A human life reduced to a body in snow. "Feels like I took something I cannot give back," Eric finally said. Davis nodded. "Yeah, that sounds about right." They sat in silence for several minutes. Then Davis mentioned something he had heard from intelligence. "They are asking about you. Specifically, Soviet radio intercepts. They want descriptions of a short American sniper using iron sights. They think it is propaganda. They say nobody should be that effective without a scope." Eric did not respond. But he was thinking, they are going to send specialists, professional hunters trained to kill snipers, men who understand the game. Good, let them come. December 4th through December 14th, 10 days of systematic killing. Eric developed patterns, not military doctrine, hunting patterns refined through 2 decades of pursuing animals that were smarter than humans in their own environment. Every position built hours before dawn, sometimes 4 hours of preparation for 6 shots, sometimes 0 shots. Hunters know that setup determines success more than shooting skill. You can be the best marksman in the world, but if the animal never appears in your sight line, you get nothing. Eric built positions where Soviet patrols would be, not where they were, where they would be. Never use the same position twice. Animals learn. They remember where danger came from. They avoid those areas. Humans are animals. They learn too. Eric would fire 1 to 6 shots from a position, then abandon it permanently. Build a new position 500 meters away. Soviet forces would target his old position with artillery, destroy empty snow, waste ammunition on a ghost. Vapor discipline became automatic. Snow in mouth always, even when not actively shooting, because the moment you forget is the moment someone spots your breath vapor and calls in artillery coordinates. By December 14th, Eric had 28 confirmed kills in 11 days. 2.5 kills per day, every single day. In conditions that were getting worse, temperature dropping, snowfall increasing, visibility decreasing, but Eric's kill rate was increasing too. December 15th, Battalion Headquarters. Lieutenant Hartwell brought Eric to the command tent, showed him a translated Soviet intelligence document. Intelligence Bulletin, Soviet 7th Army, priority high, subject American Sniper Sector 7, estimated 28 confirmed kills in 12 days, uses iron sight rifle, no magnification. Does not follow standard sniper doctrine. Operates from invisible positions. No muzzle flash detected. No vapor signature observed. Extreme caution required when entering Sector 7. Troops are calling him Belaya Smirt, the White Death. Eric studied the document carefully. Soviet command was distributing warnings about him specifically. That meant they were paying attention. That meant they would respond. Hartwell continued. They are sending counter-sniper teams, elite operators from Moscow, men specifically trained to hunt snipers, men with combat experience in Spain and Mongolia. Eric felt recognition settle in his chest. Not fear. Recognition. He had hunted wolves before, pack predators that learned human patterns. The wolves that survived were the ones that understood they were being hunted. That adapted. That changed their behavior. Now Eric was the wolf. Soviet command was sending hunters. The document gave him a name: Belaya Smrt, the White Death. He did not feel like death. He felt like a farmer doing a job he had never wanted. But the name would stick. Hartwell spoke again. They are sending someone special. NKVD Commissar. Name Mikhail Volkov. 127 confirmed kills over 20 years of combat. He trained most of the Soviet snipers currently operating. He has killed men at distances beyond 800 meters with scoped rifles. He is coming here specifically to kill you, Whitmore. Eric nodded slowly. Is he in Alaska yet or still in Moscow? Still in Moscow. Why? Because I have maybe 3 days before he arrives. I need to make those days count. December 16th through December 20, 4 days of escalation. Eric killed 9 more Soviet soldiers, methodically, professionally, without emotion. By December 21st, his confirmed kill count had reached 37. Then the elite counter-sniper team arrived. December 21st, 1939, 6:23 a.m. 6 Soviet snipers advanced through birch forest 400 meters from Eric's position. All 6 carried scoped Mosin Nagant rifles. All 6 wore elite winter camouflage better than standard Soviet issue. All 6 moved with the deliberate caution of men who knew they were hunting a predator. These were not conscripts. These were graduates of Soviet sniper school, professional killers with combat experience in multiple theaters. They had been sent to kill Eric specifically. Soviet intelligence had identified him as the sniper responsible for 37 confirmed kills in 20 days. They called him the target. They did not know his name yet. They just knew someone on the Koyukuk front was killing Soviet soldiers at an impossible rate. These 6 snipers were supposed to solve that problem permanently. Eric watched them through iron sights. No magnification. Just 2 metal posts and a notch. The Soviets moved in classic counter-sniper formation. 2 advanced scouts, 3 center shooters, 1 rear security. Textbook doctrine from the manual. They stopped every 30 meters to scan the tree line, looking for movement, disturbed snow, anything that indicated a firing position. They were 400 meters away, too far for iron sights according to every military manual. Eric had killed elk at 450 meters with these same sights. The Soviet in the center of the formation was their leader, tall, moving with authority. Officers always move differently. Eric settled his breathing, snow in his mouth, his face packed with snow for concealment, his micro-trench invisible to anyone more than 10 meters away. The Soviet leader stopped, raised binoculars, scanned the tree line where Eric was positioned. Eric did not move, did not breathe, completely still. The Soviet lowered his binoculars, signaled his team to advance. They had not seen anything. Eric waited until they were 380 meters away, closer than necessary, but he wanted certainty. He placed the front sight post on the Soviet leader's chest, exhaled slowly, pulled the trigger, the Winchester kicked. The sound cracked across frozen forest. 380 meters away, the Soviet leader dropped instantly. 1 shot, center mass, dead. The other 5 Soviets scattered, professional training. They dove for cover behind trees into snowdrifts anywhere that was not exposed. They did not know where the shot had come from. Eric chambered another round. The bolt worked smoothly. He scanned for targets. 1 Soviet made a mistake, moved too fast, exposed his shoulder for half a second. Eric fired. The Soviet jerked backward, hit. Not immediately fatal, but down. 4 left. Eric waited. The Soviets were professionals. They would not panic. They would use doctrine, establish base of fire, suppress the enemy position, maneuver to flank. Except they did not know where the enemy position was. 3 minutes passed. Nothing moved. Then 2 Soviets opened fire. Suppressive fire, spraying bullets at the general area where they thought the American sniper might be. They were shooting 50 meters too far to the right. While they fired, a 4th Soviet moved. Bounding overwatch. One element suppresses while another maneuvers. Classic tactics. He sprinted from tree to tree, fast, professional, 60 meters in 4 seconds. Eric tracked him, led the target, calculated movement, fired. The Soviet fell mid-sprint, tumbled into snow, did not move. 3 left, 2 were still firing. The 3rd had stopped. He had realized the truth. Their position was hopeless. They could not see the enemy, could not suppress him, could not flank him. They were targets in a shooting gallery. The smart Soviet ran, abandoned his position, sprinted back towards Soviet lines 400 meters away, weaving, using trees for cover. Eric did not shoot. Let him run. The message was worth more than the kill. Let him tell his commanders that 6 elite Soviet snipers had been sent to kill 1 American farmer and only 1 survived. Let Soviet intelligence process that information. The 2 remaining Soviets kept firing for another 30 seconds. Then they realized their team was gone. They stopped shooting, looked around, saw bodies in snow, understood. They ran, both sprinting back towards Soviet lines. Eric could have shot them. Easy shots. But he had made his point. 4 Soviet snipers dead, 1 wounded, all within 6 minutes, all killed by a hunting rifle with no scope. Later that day, during patrol recovery, Eric found something on the Soviet team leader's body. A photograph. 2 little girls, maybe 6 and 8 years old, dressed for winter, smiling at the camera. Daughters. Eric stared at the photograph for a long time. That man had daughters. Those daughters are orphans now, because I was better at killing than he was. He pocketed the photograph. Did not know why, just knew he could not leave it there. That night he could not sleep. Kept thinking about the 2 girls, about how they would grow up without a father, about how their mother would tell them he died serving his country, about how they would never know he died from an invisible sniper 380 meters away who was just following orders. By December 21st evening, Eric had killed 11 more Soviet soldiers. By week's end, his count reached 43. Soviet command gave him a name that would become legend. Belaya Smirt. The White Death. December 22nd. Morning briefing. Private Davis brought news that changed everything. Intel confirmed it. Commissar Volkov arrived last night. Soviet command gave him 12 elite snipers. Orders: kill the White Death. No timeline, no restrictions. Whatever it takes. Eric looked at the photograph in his pocket. The 2 little girls who would never see their father again. How many more families do I destroy before this ends? But he knew the answer. As many as necessary, because the alternative was dying. And he had promised Helen he would come back. December 28th, 1939. Soviet Field Command. Koyukuk Front. Commissar Mikhail Volkov stepped off the transport plane into -40-degree darkness. 48 years old, NKVD officer, veteran of the Russian Civil War. 127 confirmed kills across 2 decades of combat. 4 days ago he had been in Moscow. Warm apartment, hot tea. His granddaughter Anya sitting on his lap asking him to read her a story about brave soldiers. She was 4 years old, bright eyes, curious questions. She had asked Dadushka, "Will you be home for New Year?" Yes, he had told her. a lie told with a smile. Now he stood in Alaskan wilderness at -40 degrees because one American farmer had killed 43 Soviet soldiers in 4 weeks. Moscow did not ask. Moscow ordered. Volkov read the intelligence reports in the command tent, studied every engagement, every kill pattern, every tactical detail. Every engagement followed similar patterns. Invisible positions that could not be detected until after shots were fired. Iron sight precision at distances that should require magnification. Kills at ranges beyond 350 meters. Movement patterns that defied prediction. The American was hunting, not fighting. Hunting. Volkov understood hunters. His father had been a hunter in Siberia. Professional trapper. He had taught young Mikhail to track wolves through snow-red animal behavior, understand when prey became predator. His father died hunting when Mikhail was 16. Cornered a wounded bear that refused to follow the pattern. The bear killed him. Lesson learned: never underestimate prey that refuses to act like prey. Volkov was 48 years old. He had killed 127 men in combat over 23 years. He had trained hundreds of Soviet snipers. He understood doctrine. He understood tactics. He understood how professional soldiers thought. But this American was not thinking like a soldier. He was thinking like something else. Something more dangerous. That night, Volkov briefed his 12 selected snipers. Elite operators. Men who had fought in Spain against fascist forces. Men who had killed at distances beyond 600 meters. This American is exceptional, Volkov said. Skilled, disciplined, operating in terrain he knows better than we do. But he is one man following hunting instincts. We are an army following doctrine. Doctrine exists because individual brilliance fails under system pressure. He relies on environment knowledge. We will use that against him. The plan was professional. 3 teams of 4 snipers each. Act as bait. Move through known American sniper territory. When the American takes a shot, triangulate his position. Converge from 3 directions. Overwhelming force. He is one man, Volkov concluded. We are 12 trained professionals with modern equipment. Mathematics favors us. One of his snipers, Sergeant Petrov, raised a question. Comrade Commissar, what if intelligence is wrong? What if Americans have multiple snipers and consolidated attribution to create psychological effect? Volkov considered this. Then we kill them all. 1 or 12 does not matter. We have system. They have improvisation. System always wins. But here is what you need to understand about that assessment. Volkov had 127 kills over 20 years of combat. Average 6.4 kills per year. Career rate 0.017 kills per day. Eric had 43 kills in 28 days. Average 1.5 kills per day. Projected annual rate 548 kills per year. Eric was operating at 85 times Volkov's career kill rate, with inferior equipment, in more extreme conditions, against professional soldiers who were actively trying to kill him. Volkov was hunting a predator operating beyond any documented human performance, and Volkov did not fully understand that yet. December 29, 1939, Day 1 of Volkov's hunt. Team 1 advanced through sector where Eric had killed 7 Soviet soldiers in previous 72 hours. 4 elite snipers, Spanish Civil War veterans, Zeiss optics worth more than most American soldiers earned in a year, professional spacing, constant scanning, textbook execution of counter-sniper doctrine. Eric watched from 420 meters away. He had been in position since 3 a.m. 7 hours. Temperature -38 degrees. His micro-trench was invisible. His packed snow absorbed muzzle blast. Snow in his mouth prevented vapor signature. He was a ghost. The Soviet team stopped at 380 meters. Team leader raised binoculars, scanned the tree line, looking directly at where Eric was positioned. Eric did not move, breathing shallow, completely still. The team leader lowered binoculars, signaled advance. Eric made a calculation. These were not regular soldiers. These were hunters, counter-sniper specialists. If he shot one, the others would identify his position immediately. If he waited for them to pass, they would eventually detect him. So he did something that violated every principle of sniper doctrine. He shot all four of them. First shot at 6:47 a.m. Team leader, 380 meters, center mass, dead. Second shot 3.2 seconds later. Soviet on the left, turning to locate the first shot, 390 meters, chest, dead. Third shot 4.1 seconds after that. Soviet on the right, diving for cover, 370 meters, moving target. Hit him mid-dive, dead before he landed. Fourth shot, 5.7 seconds later. Last Soviet sprinting toward a tree, 410 meters. Declining angle because he was running downhill. Eric led the target. Fired. The Soviet fell. Rolled 10 meters down slope. Stopped. Did not move. 4 shots. 18.9 seconds. 4 dead Soviet snipers. Eric did not wait to confirm. Abandoned his position immediately. Moved 600 meters northeast. Set up in completely different area. By the time Soviet reinforcements responded, he was gone. Volkov received the report at 7:13 a.m. 4 of his best men dead, all in under 20 seconds, all killed by someone using iron sights at distances that should require a scope. He stood in the command tent staring at maps for 10 minutes without speaking. Finally, his aide asked Comrade Commissar orders. Volkov did not answer immediately. He was thinking about his father, about the wounded bear, about prey that refused to act like prey. The American is not following rules, Volkov said quietly. He is operating on pure hunting instinct, and he is better at it than anyone I have ever seen. December 30th. Night operations. Volkov tried different tactics. Sent Team 2 at night. Doctrine said snipers could not operate effectively in darkness without modern night optics. Eric proved doctrine wrong. Heavy snowfall reduced visibility to 150 meters for normal vision. But Eric's eyes were not normal. He had 20/10 visual acuity. Exceptional clarity. More importantly, his eyes had 30% more rod cells than average human vision. Rod cells process low light conditions. He could literally see better in darkness than standard soldiers. But in December 1939, Eric did not know this. He just knew, I can see them. They cannot see me. That asymmetry was enough. Soviet soldiers, believing weather-grounded snipers moved more freely, relaxed their guards slightly. Mistake. Eric operated like a ghost in falling snow, moving between positions, invisible against white background. When Soviets fell, they fell silently. No sound of incoming fire through heavy snow, just collapse. Their comrades never saw the shooter, never heard the shot, just watched friends die from an invisible enemy. 3 Soviet soldiers dead that night. Team 2's survivor reported back to Volkov. He can see in the dark. It is impossible, but he can see in the dark. Volkov did not dismiss this as superstition. He understood the American has some advantage we do not understand. Adaptation beyond our doctrine. January 1st, 1940. Counter-sniper elimination. Eric spotted a Soviet counter-sniper team setting up in a destroyed building, 700 meters out. These were not conscripts. These were graduates of Soviet sniper school. Zeiss scopes. Years of training. Eric watched them for 45 minutes, learning their patterns, professional discipline. Every 12 to 15 minutes they rotated positions, preventing fatigue. Textbook doctrine. Eric waited for the moment. When the spotter scanned away from his sector, Eric fired. 720 meters, longest shot of his campaign. Soviet shooter dropped. Spotter began low crawling to cover. 15 seconds later, Eric fired again. Spotter down. Soviet counter-sniper team eliminated. They never located Eric's position. By January the 2nd, Volkov had lost 11 snipers in 5 days. Every tactic failed. Every team died. He stood in the command tent. His commanding officer entered. "Comrade Commissar Moscow is asking for progress reports." Volkov stared at the maps. "Tell Moscow the American is operating beyond documented performance. He is not following rules. We cannot kill him with doctrine. What do you recommend? Saturation artillery. Burn the entire sector. Kill everything. Moscow wants him killed by sniper team. Proof of Soviet sniper superiority." Volkov wanted to say he has already proven superiority. He is better than us. Instead, understood. I will continue operations. January 4th. Eric observed a Soviet position, aimed at a soldier. As he squeezed the trigger, a second soldier walked into the path. Younger, maybe 18 or 19. The bullet struck the younger soldier. Not instant death. He fell wounded, calling for help in Russian. Eric watched through his iron sights. The soldier he had intended to kill ran to help the wounded one, exposed himself completely. Eric could have taken the shot. Easy kill. He did not. He let them carry the wounded man away. That night, Eric wrote in his notebook 73 confirmed kills. One I wish I had missed. January 5th. During patrol, Eric discovered something. Small signs in Russian, left in obvious locations. Intelligence translated them. "I know you are skilled. I respect your ability, but I have orders. One of us will die. I would prefer it to be you." Volkov was communicating. Professional respect between hunters. Eric had intelligence translate a response, left it where Volkov's team would find it. "You are fighting by doctrine. I am fighting to survive. Doctrine loses to survival." This exchange made Eric respect Volkov, which made the inevitable outcome harder. January 6, 1940. Volkov made his final decision. No more teams, no more doctrine. He would hunt Eric personally. He told his commanding officer, "I trained every sniper in this division. If they cannot kill him, I must try." That morning, Volkov moved alone through forest. No spotter, no backup. Just him, his Mosin Nagant, 20 years of experience. He hunted the way his father had taught him, reading snow disturbances, wind patterns, sight lines. He found 3 of Eric's previous positions, studied them carefully, understood the pattern. Micro trenches invisible until you were standing on them, positioned for maximum sight lines and minimum exposure, built hours before dawn, abandoned after each engagement. This American thinks like a hunter, Volkov realized, not a soldier. He is hunting humans the way you hunt wolves. Volkov felt admiration. Then he saw it. 410 meters away, tiny disturbance in snow. Maybe nothing. Maybe death. He raised his rifle, scoped the position. Eric had been in position since 3 a.m. 7 hours. Temperature minus 42 degrees. Colder than any previous day. He had seen Volkov approach, recognized him from distinctive movement. Confident, experienced. This was the man Moscow sent. Eric settled his breathing. Iron sights centered on Volkov's chest. 10 meters. His finger touched the trigger. Stopped. This man is following orders. Like me, he has family, probably grandchildren based on his age. Eric thought about the photograph of the two little girls. How many more families do I destroy? Then Volkov raised his rifle, aimed directly at Eric's position. Decision made itself. Eric pulled the trigger. The bullet hit Volkov's center mass. He dropped his rifle, fell backward into snow, maybe 30 seconds before death, blood filling his chest cavity. His last thought: the American is better than me, not because of equipment, because he belongs to this environment. I was trying to impose doctrine on chaos. He was chaos. Then nothing. That night, Eric crawled to Volkov's body, violated every doctrine, but he needed to know, found identification, found a photograph in Volkov's coat. Volkov with a young girl on his shoulders, maybe 4 years old, granddaughter. Eric took the photograph, put it with the other one, 2 photographs. 2 families destroyed. He sat in the snow next to Volkov's body, holding both photographs. Said out loud to no one, "I am sorry. I am sorry you died doing your duty. I am sorry your granddaughter will not remember you. I am sorry I am good at this." Then he found Volkov's journal. Last entry written that morning. "This American is not my enemy. We are both soldiers serving our countries, but orders are orders. If I die today, I die with respect for worthy opponent. Tell Anya her dedushka died honorably." Anya, the granddaughter's name. Eric realized Volkov understood him, respected him. That made the killing worse, not better. After Volkov's death, Soviet tactics changed entirely. They stopped sending specialists, started avoiding Eric's sector, routed patrols around areas where he operated, accepted casualties as inevitable. This was psychological defeat. 150,000 Soviet soldiers in Alaska, afraid of one American farmer. By February 1st, Eric's confirmed kill count reached 259. Average 4.1 kills per day, every single day for 63 days straight. February 17th. Soviet command tried one final tactic. Entire rifle company, 120 men. Orders: sweep the sector, kill everything. The company advanced in morning fog. Eric had built 3 separate positions within 200 meters of each other, all invisible, all pre-sighted. He waited until they were 380 meters away, then opened fire. 1 shot every 6 to 8 seconds. Aimed shots. Center mass. 7 Soviet soldiers dead in first 50 seconds. The company scattered. Officers shouted orders. Soldiers returned fire at nothing. Eric moved to his second position. Continued firing. 8 more kills in 40 seconds. By the time Soviet forces withdrew, 23 soldiers were dead, all killed by one man with iron sights. The company retreated in disorder. That night, Eric's count 493 confirmed. 12 more to reach 505. Soviet artillery opened random bombardment. Harassment fire. 1 shell landed 40 meters away. Blast wave threw Eric sideways. He lost consciousness briefly. When he woke, his face hurt. He touched his jaw. His hand came away covered in blood. An explosive bullet had struck him. Soviet anti-material round, hit near his jaw, exploded on impact, lower jaw destroyed, left cheek torn open, several teeth gone, blood everywhere. Eric knew immediately, this is fatal, No medic can save this. I should already be dead. He began crawling toward American lines. 200 meters, leaving blood trail in snow. Could not call for help. Jaw destroyed. Could not speak. Just crawled. Focused on Helen. On their farm. On the promise to come back. American patrol found him after 20 minutes. Thought he was already dead. So much blood. Face destroyed. They carried him to field hospital. Medics looked at the wound, shook their heads. Nothing we can do. Make him comfortable. They gave him morphine. Expected him to die within hours. March 6th through March 13th. 7 days unconscious. Medical records condition incompatible with life. He should have died. Did not. Doctors could not explain it. During the coma, Eric hallucinated, saw Volkov standing over him. Volkov said, "You survived because you adapted. Now adapt to this." March 13th, 1940, 10:23 a.m. Eric opened his eyes. The exact moment the Alaska Campaign armistice was signed. War ended. Eric woke. His first conscious thought. How many did I kill? Count them. Every face. Remember them all. He could not. 505 was just a number. He did not remember 505 individual faces. That realization broke something inside him. I killed 505 human beings and cannot even remember their faces. What does that make me? March 15th, 1940. Field Hospital, Alaska. Military intelligence officer visited Eric's bedside 2 days after he woke from coma. Eric's jaw was wired shut. He could not speak, could only write on a pad of paper. The officer spoke in measured tones. Formal military bearing. Soviet records confirmed your kill count. 505 confirmed sniper kills, approximately 200 additional with submachine gun in close combat when enemy forces got too close. You are the deadliest sniper in American military history. Command is recommending you for the Medal of Honor. Eric picked up the pencil. His hand shook slightly from medication and injury. He wrote slowly on the pad, "Do not want it. Just want to go home." The officer frowned. "You are a hero, Corporal Whitmore. Your actions saved countless American lives. You deserve recognition." Eric wrote again. "Heroes do not have nightmares about the faces they cannot remember." The officer did not know how to respond to that. He left the medical chart and departed. Eric stared at the ceiling for a long time after the officer left, thinking about numbers. 505 confirmed kills, each one a human being, each one someone's son, many of them someone's father, brother, husband. He had killed 505 men and could not remember most of their faces, just the photographs he carried. Volkov's granddaughter, the team leader's 2 daughters. Those faces he remembered. The rest were just targets, shapes through iron sights, bodies falling in snow. That bothered him more than the injury. March 20th, 1940. 5 days after waking. Eric officially declined the Medal of Honor in writing. He used his left hand because his right was still weak from blood loss and shock. Stated reason. I was a soldier following orders, nothing more. Real reason. He did not want to be celebrated for killing 505 human beings, did not want parades, did not want politicians shaking his hand while cameras flashed, did not want to explain to reporters why killing 505 men made him a hero. Command accepted his declination with confusion. Most soldiers wanted recognition, wanted medals, wanted their names in newspapers. Eric just wanted to go home to Helen and never pick up a rifle again. August 1941. Eric returned to Minnesota. 20 months of reconstructive surgery, multiple operations to rebuild his jaw, skin grafts for his cheek, dental work to replace shattered teeth. His face would never look the same. The left side was heavily scarred. His jaw did not close properly. He could speak again, but his voice sounded different, slurred slightly on certain consonants. Helen met him at the train station. She stood on the platform in a blue dress he remembered from before the war. She did not gasp when she saw his face, did not flinch, just walked forward and put her arms around him. She did not say welcome home, did not say she was proud of him, just held him for a long time while other passengers walked past. That night, Eric stood in their barn. Everything was exactly as he remembered. Same tools on the same hooks, same smell of hay and animal warmth. But the elk calf was gone. "Where is the calf?" Eric asked Helen. His voice sounded strange to his own ears, thick, imprecise. "I released him last spring," Helen said. "He was old enough. He needed to learn to survive on his own. Did he survive? I do not know. I hope so." Eric nodded. He understood. Some things you had to let go even when you wanted them to stay. Fall 1941. September. Eric tried to hunt again. First time since returning home. He needed to know if he still could, if the skill was still there, or if the war had taken it from him along with part of his face. He carried his Winchester into the boundary waters. Same rifle, same iron sights. The rifle that had killed 505 Soviet soldiers. Now just a hunting rifle again. He hiked for 2 hours into deep forest, found elk sign, fresh tracks, droppings less than 6 hours old. He followed the trail the way his grandfather had taught him, reading the forest, understanding the animal's movement. He found the elk in a clearing. Bull elk, maybe 800 pounds, standing 200 meters away, browsing on low branches. Perfect shot, clear sightline, no wind. Eric raised the Winchester, looked through the iron sights, settled his breathing the way he had done thousands of times, put the front sight post on the elk's chest, right behind the shoulder, heart and lungs, quick death. His finger touched the trigger and stopped. He could not pull it. His finger would not move. Not moral objection, not conscious decision. Physical inability. His finger simply would not complete the action. Eric lowered the rifle, sat down in the snow, put his head in his hands. The elk watched him for maybe 30 seconds, then walked away slowly. Not running, just walking, like it knew it was safe. Eric sat in the forest for an hour. Then he walked home. He never hunted again. That night, Helen found him sitting at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. "What happened?" she asked. "I could not pull the trigger," Eric said. "I tried. I could not do it." Helen sat down across from him. "Maybe that is good. Maybe that means you are healing." Eric shook his head. "It means I am broken. I killed 505 men without hesitation. Now I cannot kill an elk for food. What does that make me?" Helen reached across the table and took his hand. "It makes you human." November 1941. Eric took his old job back. Minneapolis machine shop. Operating lathes. Same precision work he had done before the war. Measuring to tolerances of 0.0001 inches. The kind of work that required steady hands and clear eyes and absolute focus. The other workers knew he had been a soldier. They could see his scarred face. They knew he had seen combat. But none of them knew the details. None of them knew about 505 kills or iron sights or the nickname Soviet soldiers had given him. Eric preferred it that way. He went to work, did his job, came home, lived quietly. His supervisor asked him once, "What did you do in the war?" "Followed orders," Eric said. "Same as everyone else." The supervisor did not ask again. 1942 through 1950, the silent years. Eric and Helen tried to have children. It did not happen. They saw doctors. The doctors said nothing was medically wrong. Sometimes it just does not happen. They accepted this. built a life without children. Neighbors knew Eric had been a soldier. Few knew he had been a sniper. None knew about the 505 confirmed kills or the photographs he kept in his bedside drawer. This reticence was common among combat veterans. Civilians could not understand what they had experienced, could not understand what it felt like to kill another human being, could not understand the weight of survival when so many others had not survived. So veterans stayed quiet, went to work, raised families when they could, lived quietly with what they had done. Eric developed a pattern. Same nightmare with variations. Always snow, always cold, always looking through iron sights at someone's face. Sometimes it was Volkov. Sometimes it was the young Soviet soldier he had wounded by accident. Sometimes it was the team leader whose daughters were in the photograph. Sometimes faces he could not remember from engagements he could barely recall. Always ended the same way. Pulling the trigger, watching them fall, waking up with Helen holding him saying, "You are home. You are safe." But Eric never felt safe, because safe meant he had survived while 505 others had not, and he could not remember most of their faces, could not honor them individually, could only carry 2 photographs and know that 503 other families had also been destroyed. 1950. Helen found the photographs. She was putting away laundry, found them in Eric's bedside drawer. 2 photographs, Soviet soldiers with children. She brought them to the kitchen where Eric was reading the newspaper. "Who are they?" Helen asked. Eric looked at the photographs. "Families I destroyed," he said quietly. Helen stared at him for a long moment. "You should throw these away. You should not torture yourself." "I need to remember," Eric said. 505 is just a number. Abstract. These make it real. These remind me that every one of those 505 men was somebody. Not just a target. Not just a kill count. Somebody with a family who loved them. Helen set the photographs on the table. "How many do you remember? How many faces can you recall?" "Honestly," Eric said, "maybe 20, maybe 30. The rest are just shapes through iron sights, bodies falling in snow. I killed 505 men and I cannot remember most of their faces. That is what haunts me. Not that I killed them, that I forgot them." Helen picked up the photographs, put them back in the drawer, then come to bed. Tomorrow is another day. But Eric sat at the table for another hour staring at nothing, thinking about 505 men whose faces he could not remember. Summer 1967. Eric was 62 years old. He was working in his vegetable garden behind the house, tomatoes and beans and lettuce. Simple work, honest work, work that did not require killing. A car pulled into the driveway. Expensive car, not American. Eric did not recognize the make. A man got out, mid-50s, well-dressed. He spoke with careful, precise English, heavy accent, Russian accent. "You are Eric Whitmore?" the man asked. "The White Death." Eric stood slowly, his back hurt, age and old injuries. "Yes, my name is Dmitry Volkov. Mikhail Volkov was my father." Eric felt something cold settle in his chest. He set down his gardening tools. "You should come inside." They sat on Eric's porch for 3 hours. Dmitry showed photographs. Volkov with his granddaughter Anya, now 31 years old with her own children. Volkov with his family, with his students, with friends. Eric listened, did not interrupt. Let Dmitry tell his father's story the way it should be told, as a man, not as enemy number 73. Then Eric showed Dmitry the photograph he had carried for 27 years, Volkov with Anya on his shoulders. "I have looked at this every week since I took it from your father's body," Eric said. "Your father was a good man, professional, honorable. I killed him because he was trying to kill me, not because I wanted to, not because I hated him, because it was him or me, and I chose me." Dmitry nodded slowly. He showed Eric something else. Volkov's journal, the last entry. Eric read it carefully. "This American is not my enemy. We are both soldiers serving our countries. But orders are orders. If I die today, I die with respect for worthy opponent. Tell Anya her dedushka died honorably." Eric read it twice, then handed it back. Dmitri asked the question that had brought him across an ocean. "Do you regret killing him?" Eric thought for a long time before answering. Every single day, he finally said, "And I would do it again because he would have killed me." Both truths exist. That is what war is. Necessary things you regret forever. Your father was 48 when I killed him. I have now lived 14 years longer than he did. Every one of those 14 years I have thought he should have had these years. He should have watched Anya grow up, should have met his great-grandchildren. I took that from him. It was necessary. It was defensive. It still was not right. All three of those things are true. Dmitri was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke softly. "Thank you for remembering him as human, not as enemy number 73, not as just another kill." They shook hands. Dmitri left. Eric never saw him again. But that conversation gave Eric something he had not had before. Not forgiveness from Dmitri, forgiveness from himself. Slightly, a little bit, enough to sleep better some nights. 1982. United States Army approached Eric. He was 76 years old, retired from the machine shop, living quietly with Helen, tending his garden, reading books, watching the world change on television. Army wanted him to train snipers, consult on doctrine, share his techniques with a new generation. Eric agreed with one condition: "I will teach survival. I will not teach killing." He spent 5 years consulting, taught vapor discipline, micro-position construction, terrain integration over equipment reliance, environmental adaptation. Never once mentioned kill counts, never talked about the 505 confirmed kills. When instructors asked about his record, Eric always said the same thing: "That is not what I am here to teach. I am here to teach young men how to come home. Anyone can teach killing. Very few can teach surviving. I teach surviving." The techniques Eric pioneered became standard doctrine. Modern military called them different names. Vapor discipline became thermal signature management. Micro-positions became hasty hides. Equipment adaptation became environmental integration, not attributed to Eric by name in official manuals, just listed as Lessons Learned Alaska Campaign 1939 to 1940. Eric preferred it that way. He did not want his name attached to doctrine that would be used to kill more people. December 26, 1991. Eric watched television news. Soviet Union dissolved, ceased to exist. The country that had sent 505 men to kill him no longer existed as a political entity. Helen sat beside him on the couch. "We won," she said. Eric shook his head. "Nobody won. We just survived longer." He thought about Volkov, about the 505 Soviet soldiers, about the 2 photographs still in his bedside drawer after 51 years, about whether any of it had mattered. The Soviet Union was gone, but the 505 men were still dead. Their families had still lost fathers and sons and brothers. Volkov's granddaughter Anya had still grown up without her dedushka. The team leader's daughters had still become orphans. Nobody won. Some people just survived longer than others. 1998. Minnesota Historical Society. A historian interviewed Eric for an oral history project. Eric was 93 years old. Helen had died the previous year. He lived alone in the house they had shared for 57 years. The historian asked questions. Eric answered them carefully, precisely. the way he had learned to measure tolerances on a lathe. "Do you consider yourself a hero?" the historian asked. "I consider myself a farmer who got drafted, did his duty, and tried to come home," Eric said. "The hero part is what other people need, not what I need. I do not need to be called a hero for killing 505 men." "What about the 505 confirmed kills?" "Greatest sniper in American history." Eric was quiet for almost a minute. Then he spoke slowly. "Those were not kills. Those were 505 human beings with families, with futures. I took those futures. It was necessary. It was defensive. It still haunts me. All three of those things are true." The historian asked one final question. "If you could go back, would you refuse the scope again?" Knowing everything that happened, Eric thought for a long time. "Yes," he finally said. Because the scope was not about killing more effectively. It was about understanding my environment better than doctrine understood it. The scope would have made me a better soldier. Iron sights made me a better survivor, and survival was the only thing that mattered. Not honor, not glory, not 505 kills, just coming home to Helen. That was what mattered. April 1st, 2002. Eric Whitmore died, peacefully, in his sleep, on his farm, 96 years old. He had lived 62 years after being shot in the face with an explosive bullet, had outlived the Soviet Union, had outlived Stalin, had outlived everyone who tried to kill him. His funeral was small: local veterans, family, a few historians who had studied his service. His Winchester Model 70 was donated to the Minnesota Military Museum. They displayed it in a glass case with a plaque. Rifle of Corporal Eric Whitmore, The White Death, 505 confirmed kills. Alaska Campaign 1939 to 1940, iron sights, no scope, never needed one. Next to the rifle they placed a photograph. Eric at 34 years old, standing in snow, rifle in his hands, face expressionless. There is no pride in those eyes, no fear, just the calm certainty of a man who understood exactly what he was capable of and exactly what it cost him. The two photographs were found in his bedside drawer after his death. Volkov's granddaughter Anya, the team leader's two daughters. On the back of each photograph, written in Eric's handwriting, "I am sorry. You deserved to know your fathers. I took that from you. It was necessary. It was defensive. It still was not right. All three of those things are true." That is Eric Whitmore's legacy. Not the 505 kills, not the White Death nickname, not the iron sight rifle in a museum case. The legacy is understanding that necessary does not mean proud, that survival requires doing things you will regret forever, that you can be effective and haunted simultaneously, that the greatest sniper in American history spent 62 years after the war trying to forget what made him great. Doctrine does not determine survival. Understanding your environment determines survival. Trusting your experience over regulations. Refusing to die just because a manual says you should. Eric proved it. 505 Soviet soldiers died proving it. The question is not whether it was worth it. The question is whether anyone learned anything from it. Whether the next generation of soldiers understands that innovation matters more than equipment. That adaptation beats doctrine when environment demands it. That coming home matters more than kill counts. Modern military sniper programs teach Eric's techniques. They do not say his name in most training manuals. But every vapor discipline protocol, every micro-position technique, every environmental adaptation principle came from a 5'3" elk farmer who refused to use a scope because he understood his environment better than doctrine did. If this story moved you, if it made you think about the cost of war and the weight of survival, then Eric's legacy continues. He did not want parades, did not want medals, just wanted people to understand that war is not glorious, that killing 505 men is not something to celebrate, that necessary does not mean proud. Every soldier who comes home carrying the weight of what they did to survive, Eric understands. Every veteran who cannot explain to civilians what combat actually costs, Eric understands. Every person who did what was necessary and spent the rest of their life regretting it, Eric understands. To Corporal Eric Whitmore, and every soldier who proved that American ingenuity knows no limits when lives are on the line, who adapted when doctrine failed, who survived when mathematics said they should not, who came home and lived quietly with what they had done. We remember. We honor your service. We tell your stories, because some histories are too important to remain forgotten. Because some men deserve to be remembered not for how many enemies they killed, but for how they carried the weight of survival. Thank you for watching. Thank you for remembering. Thank you for understanding that behind every number, every kill count, every military record, there is a human being who paid a price we cannot fully comprehend. Eric Whitmore. The Ghost of Karelia. The White Death. A farmer who became the deadliest sniper in American history and spent 62